Ever pondered what it takes to reshape a continent? Today, we turn our gaze to the 19th century, the aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars, and the grand diplomatic spectacle that was the Congress of Vienna. Picture this: Europe, early 19th century. The Napoleonic Wars had just ended, leaving a continent in turmoil. Nations were in disarray, borders had been blurred, and the old order had been toppled. The once stable Europe was now in chaos and desperately needed stability. Enter the Congress of Vienna, a grand gathering of diplomats and leaders assembled with the ambitious goal of restoring order and redefining the political landscape of Europe. But this wasn't just any meeting. No, this was a Congress, a grand spectacle that was to reshape the entire continent. Among the key figures steering this monumental task were the astute Prince Metternich of Austria and the visionary Tsar Alexander I of Russia. Metternich, a clever diplomat with a knack for negotiation, believed in a Europe based on balance and stability. Alexander, on the other hand, championed a more liberal ideology, advocating for nations' rights and the principle of legitimacy. These two, along with other leaders, came together with a common goal: to create a new Europe, one that could withstand future conflicts and preserve peace for generations to come. The task was daunting, but the will was there. With the stage set, the curtains were raised on the Congress of Vienna, a gathering that would define the future of Europe. The negotiations, the debates, the compromises, all these would culminate in a series of decisions that would not just redraw the map of Europe, but also lay the foundation for modern international relations. So, buckle up as we embark on this fascinating journey through the corridors of diplomacy and power, exploring the intricate web of negotiations that made up the Congress of Vienna. It's a tale of ambition, compromise, and the unyielding will to restore order from chaos. As the dust settled from the Napoleonic Wars, European powers gathered in Vienna, their sights set on a formidable task: restoring order to a fractured continent. This grand gathering was no ordinary meeting. It was a diplomatic spectacle that brought together the most influential figures of the time, all eager to put an end to the chaos and instability that had engulfed Europe. The negotiations were led by a cast of characters as diverse as the nations they represented. From the pragmatic Austrian statesman Prince Metternich to the idealistic Tsar Alexander I of Russia, this was a meeting of minds determined to shape the future of their continent. Their main objectives: restoring balance of power, ensuring legitimacy, and maintaining territorial integrity. The balance of power, a concept as old as politics itself, was central to their discussions. The idea was to prevent any single nation from dominating others, thus fostering a more stable and peaceful Europe. Legitimacy, on the other hand, involved reinstating rightful monarchs dethroned by Napoleon's conquests, a move aimed at quelling potential rebellions and restoring stability. And then there was territorial integrity. This was about redrawing the map of Europe, rearranging borders, and distributing territories to ensure a fair balance of power. It was a massive geopolitical jigsaw puzzle, with each piece meticulously placed to ensure the overall stability of the continent. Through intense negotiations, these leaders managed to create a blueprint for a new Europe. They sought to build a system where nations could coexist without the looming threat of war, where diplomacy and cooperation were the order of the day. The Congress had a clear mission: to redraw the map of Europe and establish a new era of diplomacy. As the doors of the Congress closed, the leaders left with a sense of accomplishment. They had set the stage for a new chapter in European history, one that would be marked by peace, stability, and cooperation. Little did they know, their decisions would reverberate through the corridors of time, shaping the world we live in today. The Congress of Vienna was no ordinary gathering. The outcomes would ripple through history, leaving an indelible mark on the face of Europe. This assembly of diplomatic minds achieved a monumental task: crafting a series of treaties and agreements that would fundamentally reshape the continent. These accords weren't just about carving up territories. They were about restoring a sense of order after the upheaval of the Napoleonic era. The principle of legitimacy was central to this. Monarchies that had been overthrown by Napoleon were reinstated, restoring a sense of traditional authority and stability. But the Congress went beyond just reinstating old rulers. They sought to redraw the map of Europe, literally and figuratively. Borders were adjusted with the intention of creating a balance of power that would deter any single nation from dominating the others. This was a new approach, replacing the old system of constant conflict with one of diplomatic negotiation and mutual respect. In this new Europe, nations were expected to respect each other's territorial integrity. This wasn't just about preventing wars. It was about establishing a shared understanding of what constituted a nation. It was about creating a sense of shared rules and norms that all nations could abide by. The Congress of Vienna also ushered in a new era of diplomacy. The leaders and diplomats who gathered in Vienna understood that the old ways of doing things were no longer sustainable. They saw the need for a more cooperative approach to international relations, one that prioritized negotiation over conflict. The result was a period of relative peace and stability that lasted for much of the 19th century. The Congress of Vienna had managed to do what seemed impossible. It had brought order back to a continent torn apart by war and revolution. The Congress of Vienna successfully restored order, setting the stage for a new era in international relations. Its legacy continues to influence the way we think about diplomacy and conflict resolution today. The Congress was a testament to the power of negotiation and compromise, and a reminder that even in the face of great chaos, order can be restored. The Congress of Vienna was more than a diplomatic gathering. It was a turning point, a catalyst that would shape the future of international relations. This remarkable assembly didn't just redraw the political map of Europe. It mapped out a new way for nations to interact, communicate, and collaborate in a manner the world had not seen before. The Congress's legacy wasn't merely about territories and treaties. It was about the principles it established: legitimacy, balance of power, and territorial integrity. These principles became the bedrock of modern diplomacy. The Congress of Vienna created a system where issues were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare, marking a significant shift from the tumultuous era of Napoleonic conquests. The Congress's influence extended far beyond the borders of Europe. It laid the groundwork for the concept of international law, establishing rules that nations should abide by in their dealings with one another. This was a radical departure from the law of the jungle, where might often made right. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Congress of Vienna was the relative peace it preserved in Europe for nearly a century. This was no small feat, considering the continent's history of incessant warfare. The Congress's vision of a balanced Europe, where no single power could dominate others, proved remarkably successful in maintaining stability. The Congress of Vienna also fostered a sense of European identity, a consciousness of shared interests and common destiny among the nations of the continent. This sense of unity, despite periodic strains and tensions, has been instrumental in shaping the course of European history. And yet, the Congress wasn't without its flaws. Its focus on legitimacy often meant the reinstatement of monarchies and the suppression of democratic ideals. This tension between the old order and the new would continue to shape European politics for years to come. The legacy of the Congress of Vienna echoes in the corridors of power even today, a testament to the enduring power of diplomacy and cooperation. As we navigate the complex world of international relations, we could do well to remember the lessons of Vienna: that peace is achievable, that balance is maintainable, and that cooperation is always preferable to conflict. The Congress of Vienna, a grand spectacle of diplomacy, left a legacy that continues to shape our world. A gathering of the greatest minds from the most powerful nations, this Congress was not merely an event, but a milestone in the annals of European history. It was a beacon of hope in a world ravaged by the Napoleonic Wars, a symbol of unity in the face of chaos. We've journeyed back to the year of 1814, to the grand halls and echoing corridors where leaders and diplomats came together to redraw the map of Europe. We've seen how the principles of legitimacy, balance of power, and territorial integrity were woven into the fabric of a new order, restoring stability to a continent in turmoil. We've witnessed the birth of a new era of diplomacy, a time when nations turned to negotiation rather than warfare to resolve their differences. The Congress of Vienna, with its intricate web of treaties and agreements, laid the groundwork for the international relations we see today. Its influence reverberates through the corridors of power, shaping the way nations interact on the global stage. Understanding historical events like the Congress of Vienna is crucial in comprehending the complexities of contemporary geopolitics. Our past is a mirror, reflecting the patterns and trends that have shaped our present. It reminds us that the world we live in today was shaped by the decisions, alliances, and compromises made by those who came before us. As we delve deeper into our shared past, we discover the threads that connect us, the events that shape us. History is not merely a collection of dates and facts, but a tapestry woven from the threads of human experience. Each thread, each event, each decision adds to the rich complexity of our shared heritage. So let's keep unraveling this tapestry. Let's keep exploring the fascinating stories that history has to tell us. Until our next historical journey, keep exploring, keep learning.